welcome Larry Johnson to the show. He is a former CIA intelligence officer, but he's also a geopolitical expert. Always appreciate his insight and always appreciate him coming on the show. Larry, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, good. Yeah, just watching this train wreck unfolding before us. So,
Well, on that, we've just got some breaking news about an hour ago.
yeah.
And I was interviewing Scott Ritter, and he said he didn't even believe that these attacks had happened. And now the IRGC are confirming that they did not send any missiles, did not send any drones to UAE. From an intelligence perspective, what is going on?
So they're saying that the IRGC is confirmed they did not do that?
Yes.
Oh, so this is an Israeli false flag. So,
Israeli, or do you want me to read the statement to you?
yeah.
Let me get it up. It was shocking because I mean Scott Ritter said it. He said, "Oh look, did you see any hits?" And I was like, "Actually, I didn't see any missiles in the air, but I was kind of a bit, not too sure about it." But the statement came out, and I'm just trying to get it up. Here it is. And they said this, quote, "In recent days, the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran have not carried out any missile or drone operations against the UAE. Had any such actions been taken, we would have announced it with full firmness and clarity. Therefore, the report from the country's Ministry of Defense is categorically denied and is entirely devoid of truth. Should any measures be taken against Iran from Emirati territories, our response will be severe."
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. There is a video. I posted a video yesterday of Furaja, the port on the Gulf of Oman, that there was a fire burning. It had been hit, and you heard an explosion. But it's also noteworthy that this past week, the Omanis became, it's like somebody who you thought was a closeted homosexual. They've come out of the closet, man. They're hugging Israel all they can, and it makes sense because MBZ features prominently in the Jeffrey Epstein material, in the Jeffrey Epstein documents. He's a degenerate pederast, is I think the polite term, albeit the open alignment and association with the Emiratis and the Israelis, and now the U.S. makes sense. So this is I think Israel trying to create a false flag to justify the U.S. attack that's coming, because I believe that by the end of this week, the United States and Israel will again be launching attacks on Iran using the justification of like the bombing of or this missile assault on the UAE. They may even have a stage of missile fired at one of the U.S. ships in order to then justify renewing attack on Iran. But Iran's ready for it, so we're gonna be into a new round of escalation.
I asked this question to the other guests as well, and I think you're the best person to ask this. The United States of America were asked today, and Donald Trump said, and Hegseth, both of them said, that the attack on the UAE didn't meet the threshold of basically responding. And so I guess the question here is, it seems like the US isn't on the same page, because why would they be part of a false flag that they're like, we're not going to respond to?
Yeah.
They would be doing it big enough so that they can respond themselves. So if the US is not part of this and it's just the UAE and Israel, what's going on?
Well, again, Israel pursues its own agenda, and ultimately the United States is forced to follow. They've been putting a lot of emphasis on, Rubio in that recent press conference. Oh, we're defensive. If we don't get shot at, we're not going to shoot back. Yeah, they're going to shoot back. I mean, I've got a friend in the UAE. He's very well connected. He knows what he's talking about, and he was told by somebody who's been in contact with U.S. military forces that the attack will happen on, he said, May 7th. So we'll see. That's what they're talking about within what consists of the Emirati military forces. But the United States, if they were serious about seeking peace, they would be pulling assets out of the arena. Instead, they're pouring assets in. More aviation assets, more missiles, even some ground forces. So this is, this has the recipe. When they restart the clock on the 60 day for the War Power Act, it doesn't matter what, I heard you talking about Rubio's opinion. Oh, it's unconstitutional. Well, you're not the Supreme Court, and right now that remains the law of the land. So you don't get to interpret what laws you're going to follow or not follow. But that's exactly what Trump is doing. So they've come up with this scheme, or let's call it a scam, that they ended Epic Fury. That war is over, so we don't have to report that anymore to Congress. We got that on day 60. Man, was that amazing! But now they're going to start. We got a new threat. This is Project Freedom. This threat. And they're going to go through, I think, the motions of trying to get the United Nations to pass, the UN Security Council, to pass a resolution condemning Iran and actually authorizing military force against Iran. And that will get vetoed by Russia and China.
So you mentioned May 7th. That response is from the UAE or the UAE
Yes.
and Israel or the UAE, Israel, and the United States?
Well, it will be the United States, Israel, and the UAE, all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, this is shocking. But 7th is
Thursday.
Thursday, but that's un-Trump-like. He likes to do. He's a weekend warrior. Wouldn't
Well,
it be Friday?
they could launch it on Thursday, Washington time. That would be Friday morning, Tehran time. Anything that's done after, say, 6 p.m. Washington time is that's 8 hours, 8.5 hour difference with Tehran. So that'd be 2:30 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, I meant more because normally Trump waits for the markets to close, but I guess
Right.
maybe.
Right.
And that would be Friday, right? But I guess.
Yeah, well, you've seen, what we've seen with the markets. They're dishonest.
True.
They are absolutely dishonest, particularly the oil market, oil futures. The actual price people are paying for oil is, good Lord, in excess of $140, $150. But the futures keep saying, and now the futures are saying, well, it's only 110 for Brent. But that's up substantially from what it was the last couple of weeks.
Could it be that the US has told the UAE they're going to help with the attack and they don't, and then the UAE maybe has to do it on their own? Okay.
Oh, no. UAE has no assets to speak of. They're just, they're like a bug smashing on a window. All they do is create a little mess, but they've got no impact, no depth of force. So they'll be like having the UAE along to participate in a mission. It's like a father that takes their small child and puts him on his lap and lets him pretend that he's driving. That's the UAE.
I agree with you. Me and Scott were going through our immense dislike of that country, and we're totally in agreement with what you're saying.
Yeah.
In that regard. Now, coming back to in terms of the specific mission that they're doing right now, Project Freedom, there are claims that the US is essentially basically making the vessels decide on their own. They're like, you know what, you can navigate through the strait. We're going to give you this path. You can speak to Oman, but apparently Oman isn't even on board with this. And through VHF, and then you can try and get through. And no vessel wants to go through because the risk is still there. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, say that again. I didn't quite follow that.
Yeah, so basically, the vessels that are stuck in the Strait of Hormuz,
Yeah.
it seems like what US is saying is we're not going to escort you out. We're giving you this pathway that is close to the Strait of Oman. Sorry, on the Oman section of Hormuz. And what you do is through VHF, you can call Oman, but you're on your own kind of scenario. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, that appears to be exactly what they're doing, and that's why that part of the strait has been mined by Iran. So they're wanting to coerce and force everybody through Iranian territorial waters. Now, again, one of the myths and misstatements that's being pushed by the United States is that this is an international waterway, Well, it goes into an international waterway, but that particular piece of water is actually territorial waters of both. Half of it belongs to Iran, the other half to Oman. And Iran and Oman have been coordinating on how they're going to, in the future, charge people for use. Somebody wants to pay the Iranians, they get out. Then the United States tries its own acts of piracy to combat that. So, like I said, this is while all of this back and forth over quote opening the Strait of Hormuz goes on, the world economy is still it's in the process of collapsing. We don't quite see it yet. It's like the early stages of that tsunami. Once the water's withdrawn, you can on the horizon see the water to start coming at you, but nothing that would alarm you to say, oh my God, I got to get up and run for my life. By the time you recognize how bad it is, it's too late to do anything.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned the UAE doesn't have much capability. I was looking, there's a couple of, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to speak to you about. I'll quickly get into this because in case we miss it. You have been on our show many a times, and in detail you've explained how numerically, how the Iran and the US in total, sorry, Israel and the US in total are running out of defense interceptor missiles, whether they're Park 3, whether whether they are THAAD or whatever it may be. Israel claims that they've given the UAE the Iron Dome. What does the UAE have left from your understanding in terms of this defense equipment as well as the possible Iron Dome addition?
Yeah, the Iron Dome's a piece of junk. I mean, it is. It's good at shooting down subsonic missiles, but not with 100% effectiveness. So, but Iran's going to fire ballistic missiles, short range and intermediate range, and then those will be so it's completely useless for the UAE. This is just more symbolic support from Israel to the UAE, saying, "Hey, you're now one of our you're one of our boys," or actually, it's probably more accurate to say, "You're one of our bitches," because we tell you what to do.
No doubt, no doubt. As we say, they're under the feet of the United States of America, which is under the control of Israel. But in terms of
well, let's not forget the control of Jeffrey Epstein from the grave.
Exactly.
They got blackmail material in MBZ. MBZ is going to do what they say.
I agree. And not just that as well. I think they're massively entrenched as through intelligence and various other things. But in terms of Flip, what was it? There was an important question I had for you. What was it again? In terms of the defense, you mentioned that the defense is kind of lacking, and that's fine. But what I guess the question I've got for you is this, and it's the same question I've asked a couple of people, and I do want your thoughts on it. Is in the first 39 days, it was UAE who got more missiles and drones hit towards it. Now, my understanding is the reason why that was done was because Iran was sending older missiles in order to work out their defense system. The same way that they did with Israel in True Promise 1, and then we saw the complete obliteration. That's my understanding. But what's your kind of understanding or thoughts?
Yeah, no, that fits with what I understand, because they've got more recent missiles that are very effective, and we didn't see a lot of effective strikes. Now that said, we were lied to, and we've learned we were lied to about how much damage was done. And initially the United States, Israel all downplayed, oh, they hardly touched us. But then the latest report by CNN showed, no, in fact, that there was substantial damage, and in the billions, tens of billions of dollars in damage. So this next round, I think, will be far more destructive and far more costly than what happened in the first 43, 49 days. Yeah, let's see, it's 45. It was April 15th was essentially when the ceasefire went into effect, I think.
Yeah.
So 31, 45, that's 46, 47 days in. That's when the ceasefire came into effect. And in that 47 days, Iran did significant damage to the U.S. installations and to the bases like Prince Saud Air Base and Mawafaq Al Salti and Jordan, and then to ports and some infrastructure in Israel.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And we've seen the evidence of that in terms of the complete devastation that's occurred in the Middle East. If on May the 7th, the USA, Israel, and the UAE were to attack Iran, what would Iran's response be? Do you think it'd be largely directed at the UAE this time, or what do you think happens?
No, it'll be comprehensive. It'll be massive. The UAE, and if anything's launched from Qatar, it'll be Qatar. Anything launched from Saudi Arabia, it'll be Saudi Arabia. Anything launched from Jordan, it'll be Jordan, and it'll be Israel. It looks like they are trying to keep the F-35s back, as far back from the front, like in Jordan. But still, if they take off from Jordan, it's 825 miles to Riyadh. And then from Riyadh into Iran, it's another 300 miles just to the coast. So there has to be that air refueling take place. And then for right now, the F-35s will use standoff munitions still, Tomahawks, JASSMs, which they don't have a whole lot of. If they try to sustain operations like that for another 2 weeks, then the U.S. weapons supply will reach a critical level.
And even with the refueling, isn't it they need to refuel every few hundred miles?
Yeah, they've got a combat radius of 550. So, you figure you fly out. If you fly out 250 miles, you got to turn around. That's where you turn around there, or keep flying. You're going to get refueled. So they get refueled at least twice to 3 times on one of these missions, if they're originating from, say, Jordan.
Yeah, that's going to be highly problematic in terms of refueling. But if the I guess my question is this: the blockade obviously isn't really working. So you believe they're going to just so A, you believe they're going to shelve the blockade, but B, also you've got all of these USS aircraft carriers. You've got a lot of these vessels, the destroyers, that are in the strait, like just outside the Strait of Hormuz, but not too far away from Iran. Previously, they were always stood off quite a bit. Why would they go to war and risk those? Those assets are going to be so easy to hit.
Yeah, I don't think they will, because right now, I understand the limit for Iran is about 200 miles. And that's based upon a guy, Simplicius, the thinker. He's got a Substack. I can't independently verify that, but I think he's done enough research to be confident with that number. It roughly translates to 330 kilometers. That, remember, each of these carrier strike groups is accompanied by at least 4, maybe 5 destroyers, and like 3 destroyers and 2 cruisers, or 3 destroyers and 1 cruiser. So those ships, they're armed with either armed with Tomahawk missiles and or defense, air defense missiles. Well, they have to make, before they deployed to sea, they had to make a choice. How many of those air defense missiles are we going to put in, and how many offensive missiles are we going to put in? Because once you're at sea, you can't reload it. Once you're at sea, you're committed to that load. So this means that they planned for what they were likely to encounter. The problem with that is once they fire those, they're then going to have to withdraw from the area to go get reloaded. They have to go to probably Diego Garcia, possibly Karachi, but I doubt the PAX would let that happen. So it is, there are limitations. And then, if they're trying to run the blockade, if the ship you send out to intercept the blockade is a destroyer or a cruiser, well, that means you pull it off from its duty as guarding the aircraft carrier, which means the aircraft carrier is now more vulnerable. So that's what I say, this whole notion that they've done a blockade, they haven't stopped 150 ships, not at all, because they don't have enough ships to accompany those and keep control of them.
Now, another element of this is as you mentioned, where will Pakistan sit? And what I mean by that is, They seem to have opened trade routes with Iran. There's porting routes with Iran. On the other hand, yesterday, the Prime Minister of Pakistan came out and disavowed Iran's attack on the UAE.
Well, it turns out that was false.
Which is obviously false, yeah. But the question mark becomes, they actually have a defense pact with Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia was to be hit, they'll be put in a quandary. How do you think they will react in this situation?
Well, I don't think that they'll fulfill their defense obligations to Saudi Arabia, because the only reason Saudis will be attacked is because they are allowing U.S. forces to use their base to attack the United States or to attack Iran.
And so you also mentioned that the F-35s are being held in, last question, F-35s are being held in Jordan. In the last wave of attacks, the first 39 days, Jordan was hit, but it wasn't hit immensely. It was probably the least hit. I mean, I'm looking at the stats, but I believe it was one of the least hit. If the F-35s are held there, also we saw a major movement of cargo ships, a major movement of military assets into Jordan in order to defend Israel. Do you think Jordan's going to be hit a lot harder?
Yes, I do, because they're part of the problem. And so all of this is designed to try to demonize Iran and make proclaim that Iran's the real radicals, and they're not. It's all a lie. But telling the truth hasn't been a priority for the United States nor Israel. So this war, we're going to have to look at this war not just in terms of the military effects, but also with the economic effects that come from the Gulf being closed, the disruption in oil, liquid natural gas, urea, helium. It's a whole panoply of things. And so it's a very complex picture, but what it means is the global economy is going to be contracting, not expanding.
No doubt, no doubt. Many experts are saying we're guaranteed a recession. The only question is whether they're going to have a depression. I just want to thank you, Larry, for taking your time out to join. I know you had a very constricted times frame. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining. Everyone follow Larry on his Sona21 website. Follow his Substack and obviously his Twitter. We're going to put it out there. We've got everybody following us on here. Thank you so much.
Hey, Suleiman, thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.
Definitely. Appreciate you as always, Larry.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was Larry Johnson. Really appreciate him. Really appreciate him a lot. There was a bit of a schedule issue, but he managed to still get us in and fit us in. So we really appreciate it. Great guy, great person. Guys, make sure you like this video. Make sure you share it. We've got loads of huge number of people watching. Everyone should be subscribed. Everyone should have your notifications on. We've got so many interviews lined up. It is unbelievable. So all the people on YouTube, like this video, comment on this video, share this video, let everyone know about it. Let's try and get as many people aware of this channel as possible. This is the channel to be. This is the channel for the interviews, real news, real information coming out. You saw it. We were giving Larry Johnson the news and he was able to react to it live. It only happens on our show because that's what we're all about. So guys, subscribe to the channel, like it, comment it, give me your thoughts in the comments. Larry Johnson says, war starting May 7th. War is starting on Thursday, according to his sources. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree with Larry Johnson? Appreciate all of you. Like this video, comment on it, share it, let your friends and family know about it. Everyone, please subscribe to the channel, and you have to have your notifications on or you won't know. Tomorrow, we've got Treater Parsi on. We're trying to lock down Professor Morandi for the timing, and we've got the debate with Rabbi Shmuley, and then Thursday and Friday lineup, I'm already setting it up as well, so it'll be really, really good. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel.